Guys, and welcome back to the Money Game with AC. If you're new to the channel and you find this information valuable, please do you consider liking the video. It helps a lot the channel to grow, and especially this information to be presented to as much people as possible. Now let's get into the video I have for you today. The market is, I believe, in pause mode because first off, tomorrow we're gonna have the Fed minutes, and usually if not pretty much all the time, we have the Fed minutes pretty much a month after the meeting was held. We do have the minutes coming off, and the market usually tend to sell off before the minutes or when the minutes are getting published, because people have now the time to see things, to dig into things, and they might see things that they may not have liked based on what the Fed decided to do or will do in the next coming months. But I think that being put aside, the market is now seeing that, hey, things are not as bad as they used to. And this is something I've been calling since the end of June, just because first off, the numbers that are fueling inflation, the CPI, the PPI, are now dropping. Like oil right now is even lower than before the war with Ukraine and Russia started, which is a good thing because it means inflation, it helps inflation cool down. Now, another thing that the market was kind of puking on was over exaggerated fears of a recession. And a recession, and whenever the economy slows down. And one thing to look at that is the earnings, because the stock market is composed of companies, right? And those companies every 3 months are publishing how good, or like a public, a record card. This is how good or how bad we did for the last 3 months, and this is what we're seeing for the next 3 to 6 to maybe 12 months. And Walmart, Home Depot, and Target published their results for the last quarter today. And based on what they said, the stocks gain, like Walmart gain, Home Depot gain, Target gain. You know why they gain? Because they said our margins are still good somehow, but we are not as doomy gloomy on the outlook for the near future. In other words, even though prior months they were already kind of prepping the market to say, hey, we may not have good earnings because we are crushing under inflation. But now that inflation is kind of backing off, the numbers are looking good. Look, Home Depot stock climbs towards 5 months high as incredibly resilient customers, inflation boosts sales above expectations. Now the thing is, for a company like Walmart, Home Depot, these are companies that we pretty much use to buy something from these guys every once a week. Like it's on a regular basis. That's what we call them, the cyclicals. Like you go to Walmart for groceries pretty much every week or every month. You go to Home Depot at least once a month or once a week for some people. Target, that's definitely, these are the retailers, all right? These are people we spend money on a regular basis. So they also employ a lot of people, all right? So for these companies to tell us that they beat expectations on sales, it means that they made more money than the market anticipated. And they made money than the market anticipated just because we spend a lot more money than even them anticipated. That means that the consumer still have some sort of purchasing power, especially for those companies. Now, when they are positive on the outlook, meaning when they look at the next 3, 6, 12 months, on the short term, if they are positive, it means that maybe the economy is not going to crash. Maybe the economy is not going to slow as we tend. Maybe this recession is just over exaggerated. Now, I think, and I know it's maybe too soon to assume that, because we need to see the next GDP numbers that are going to come out in the next 2 months, maybe 3 months. But the bottom line is we can actually have a sense of what's going to come into earnings for companies that are down to earth, very close to the real economy, like the retailers. Walmart definitely is one of them, because Walmart is the number one employer in the US. So whenever Walmart sees, you're pretty sure it's close to what the economy looks like. All right. So based on this, I think the market may have bottomed, but still not sure, because until the Fed stops increasing interest rates, we will never know for sure. All right, we can still go back down to some of the levels we've seen in June, even though I don't see that happening. I mean, the likelihood of that happening really, really high, but you just never know with this market. All right, so if you are somebody that took some positions back in June because of that was a low, definitely you will be sitting on some sort of gains right now. I mean, if you want to take some profits, then go ahead because you want to lock those bags. But if you are somebody that is at least in the next long term or medium term, like your horizon is like maybe the end of this year or maybe the end of this month, then personally, what I'm doing with my stocks on the short term, I'm still waiting to see some sort of highs before I can start taking some profits. All right. Now, long term, in terms of strategy, doesn't change anything for me just because I'm still continuing to be really disciplined with my buying every 2 weeks when it comes to my long-term portfolio, my 401k, my Roth IRA, and into my favorite ETFs, index, mutual funds, and some of the stocks. So based on this, I think we might continue to see some green days ahead. But as I said, with this market, just never know. So just be cautious.